Is the worst behind us, or is it just getting started? After news broke that the United States bombed Iran, the crypto markets took a major hit. Bitcoin dropped into the 90,000 S, and XRP fell as low as $1.92 on Livecoin Watch. Some exchanges even reported slightly lower prices. So is the panic over? Have we hit the bottom? Well, maybe, but not so fast. Many respected analysts believe we might see even lower prices before the market starts to recover. I'm not saying this to alarm you. And honestly, none of the analysts I follow are trying to scare anyone either. In fact, they're actually pretty optimistic about it and see it as a good thing. From a chart perspective, it's a healthy and natural response after everything that's happened recently. Hitting these lows, especially with more liquidity in play, is part of the process. And there are plenty of interesting arguments out there from different chart analysts, and it's all pointing to some encouraging signs. If that does happen, the outlook is actually pretty optimistic. There's a strong belief that the best is still ahead. Whether prices dip a little lower or not doesn't really change the bigger picture. There's no reason to be fearful here, and that's an important point to keep in mind. Before wrapping up for the night, I just wanted to share a few updates from some chart analysts. This week is going to be interesting to watch. Since traditional finance isn't open 24/7 like some markets, we haven't seen the full picture yet. But honestly, there's no need to panic right now. Stay calm and focused. It doesn't make sense to stress about it. It really doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. I know some people are freaking out. Oh no, XRP this or some other crypto dropping. But honestly, there's always something being labeled as the next big crisis. It never stops. Over the next 5, 10, 15, or even 20 years, there'll be countless moments that seem world-ending, but they never actually are. This is just another one of those moments. Before we dive in, I just want to be upfront. I don't have any kind of financial background. This isn't financial advice, so please don't make any buying or selling decisions based on what I say or write. I'm just a crypto enthusiast who loves making YouTube videos about the topic as a fun hobby. Now, as I'm recording this, it's 9:47 p.m. Central Time on Sunday, June 22, 2025. And wow, like many of you, I've been glued to my phone today watching the markets take a nosedive. It's been a wild ride out there. That said, I had a pretty good day overall, hung out with some friends, and had a cool, relaxed time. I gotta say, it felt amazing to just kick back in the sun, soaking up the 95-degree weather and working on my tan. You know how it is. Every now and then I'd grab my phone to check in on what's happening. I'd see something and think, oh, it's not great, and then just shrug and head back into the water. Honestly, it didn't bother me. Sure, my net worth took a big hit in just a couple of days, but hey, unrealized losses, right? It's not worth stressing over. At the end of the day, it's all part of the ride. I'm so curious about all this. It's just so fun to follow. Here we are wrapping up Sunday, and XRP is sitting at $2.01. Bitcoin's at $101,257 with a 24-hour low of $98,528. So while we're up from today's lows, that doesn't mean we're completely in the clear yet. But honestly, does it really matter in the grand scheme of things? On a lighter note, I couldn't help but notice some classic engagement farming from Cointelegraph a few hours ago. They posted, describe XRP in 3 words. I mean, come on, this is pure engagement bait. There's nothing meaningful behind it. What's funny is that Cointelegraph has spent the last decade putting out all kinds of irrational articles trashing XRP, and they're still at it even now. It's almost impressive how consistent they've been about it. I came across an interesting take from an XRP community member and chart analyst at Zoom. They summed it up in just one word: undervalued. And honestly, that really stuck with me. Now, think about this. Fast forward 5 or 10 years from now, check back in and let me know where the price is. I highly doubt it's going to be stuck around $2. In fact, I'd bet it's much higher. Right now, there's so much panic in the market, but one day you'll look back and realize it didn't make sense to worry. It never does it? Here's the thing. If the SEC attacking XRP couldn't stop its success, and clearly it didn't, do you really think this current situation, unrelated to XRP's fundamentals, is going to? Absolutely not. Markets panic. That's just what they do. But here's the lesson. Learn to see these moments of capitulation for what they really are. Opportunities. That's the truth. Plain and simple. Check out this post from chart analyst Crypto Wizard. It really drives the point home. He shared this earlier today. Here's a chart of the S&P 500. His caption reads, "War is bullish." What if I told you that war can actually be bullish? Back on March 20, 2003, when the Iraq war started, the S&P 500 experienced a notable correction right after seeing a 35% gain And feels like we're seeing similar vibes this time around, right? What do you think? Just to be clear, when he says this is bullish, he's strictly talking about the charts. It has nothing to do with being pro-war. Let's not twist his words here, okay? No one's pro-war. But if we're looking at what this means for the markets, there's often a capitulation event that creates opportunities for those ready to act. Markets eventually bounce back, and history shows this. For example, take a look at 2003 after the bottom of the panic selling. The market was up 35% less than a year later. 35% in crypto? That's huge. If we were talking about the S&P 500, it'd be absolutely massive. Even Incredible Crypto agrees. Earlier today, after a rough day in the markets, he shared his thoughts. All things considered, I do think sentiment right now is a lot more bearish than it should be. The takeaway, don't get swept up in the emotions flying around on crypto Twitter right now. Stay focused on the bigger picture and what's coming on the higher time frames. What he's saying is simple. The short-term price swings don't really matter. Big picture, we're not done here. His confidence hasn't wavered, and neither should yours. This guy has an impressive track record when it comes to accuracy and chart predictions. He's confident that Bitcoin is gearing up for one last parabolic rally and believes an alt season is on the horizon. And yep, XRP is expected to be a big part of that. According to him, XRP will hit price discovery, blow minds, and even hit double digits. In fact, he's been saying for a while now and still stands by it that XRP could peak somewhere between $20 and $30. Take a look at this post. It's pretty interesting. Here's a Bitcoin USD chart, and the update was shared not too long ago at 7:05 p.m. Now, as I'm recording this, it's 9:52 p.m., so less than 3 hours have passed. In the post, the author mentioned that the daily close really strong, clearing the lows from June 5th and closing back above. He also pointed out that we just barely front ran the next area of interest marked in green. If you check out the green zone on the chart, you'll see exactly what he's referring to. He mentioned that he would have preferred a test of the next higher time frame area of interest in green, but it's possible this could be a repeat of the $74,000 low that front ran higher time frame demand by just a few $100s. It's still too soon to say for sure, but as he noted, there's a chance the price could dip a little lower to hit those ideal downside targets. Don't worry if we see this pump retrace a bit or even hit a slightly lower low to test the daily demand below. It's nothing to stress about. We're keeping an eye on it, but honestly, there's no reason for concern right now. I'm still confident that dips are opportunities to buy. This is just how crypto works sometimes. It's unpredictable. If it wasn't this event causing movement, it would have been something else. Most chart analysts I follow would agree on that. Why? Because the charts show us where the buying and selling pressure is, and that gives us a pretty solid idea of what's likely to happen next. Whether it's a big world event like a geopolitical situation or just the natural progression of things with no major news driving it, these patterns tend to play out. In this case, it's tied to a global event, but honestly, if it wasn't this, it probably would have been something else. That's why I've noticed over the years, whether there's a newsworthy trigger or just something analysts spot in the charts, when most analysts predict something, it usually happens. It's fascinating to see how these things unfold, and it's a big reason why I've come to believe in these patterns after watching them play out time and time again. The truth is, if it hadn't been this big global event, it would have been something else triggering things. You can actually see it in the charts. That's really the crux of their argument. Even if Bitcoin dips lower here, which, to be fair, he admits is possible, it's clear he's not strongly leaning one way or the other in the short term. But when it comes to the big picture, he's confident we're heading much higher. And honestly, even if we see a short-term drop, it's not a big deal. Nothing is broken here, far from it. Everything's still on track. Someone asked Credible Crypto about XRP, saying, "Hey, Cred, love your work." And XRP and BTC just swept the lows on the 4-hour/daily charts last night, and there are plenty of untapped highs above. Do you think this could show some strength coming back to XRP now? Credible Crypto replied around 8:17 p.m., just over an hour and a half ago, saying, "Yes, I've been watching those lows too, likely soon." So even if Bitcoin dips lower or XRP drops further, he's still feeling optimistic. He believes XRP has the potential to make a big move to the upside. Here's an interesting post from chart analyst Tech Dev, who believes we might see a bit of a dip before things take off. He shared this with his 531,000 followers, saying that $95,000 for Bitcoin makes sense structurally. Then he adds, $170,000 could be closer than we think. Now, to be clear, he's not outright predicting this will happen, but it's a perspective I've noticed a lot of analysts echoing lately. The blockchain backer, Credible Crypto, and so many others have mentioned that $95,000 just makes sense structurally. TechDev posted this at 6:42 p.m. Central Time, and he's still emphasizing that $95,000 seems logical. I can't fully explain the details behind it, but let's just say it's a view shared by tons of experts right now. I've been following a lot of analysts, and many of them are saying pretty much the same thing about this. Now, it's not a guarantee that it will happen, but we haven't hit those lower levels yet. If we're going to see more turbulence in the markets, so to speak, it could happen this week since the markets haven't really had a chance to react yet. After all, the news broke over the weekend. If things get rough, crypto might take another dip. But honestly, it doesn't change much for me. My plan is simple. I'm holding steady and not making any moves. That's how I plan to win in the long run. What about you? What's your game plan? Look, the amount of money I've put into crypto over the years compared to what it's worth now, even with this dip, is it even close? I'm way in the green. Why? Because I didn't overthink it. I just hold. I stick to my convictions because I genuinely believe in what I'm investing in. I believe the crypto space is only getting bigger. I've been saying this since I jumped in back in 2017. And so far, I've been right. I'm confident I'll still be right 7 years from now. It's simple. Hold long enough and you win. No need to panic over every little dip. Now, if Bitcoin really does hit 170K, can you imagine what that means for XRP? How could it not see double-digit prices at that point? Seriously, tell me how that wouldn't happen. Check out this post from chart analyst Dan Gambardello shared with his 296,000 followers. Fun fact, he's a big XRP supporter, but this time he's looking at a Bitcoin USD chart. Dan points out that the Bitcoin inverse head and shoulders pattern is starting to look more structurally centered, with a target of $160,000 if the pattern confirmed. Pretty interesting, right? He also mentions there could still be more short-term downside with a $95,000 target not yet hit. Doesn't that sound familiar? Seems like a lot of analysts are pointing to that same 95K level. We don't have to do anything drastic here, but I just want to give you a heads up if something does happen. It's not unusual. In fact, it's pretty normal, so no need to panic if that happens. XRP will likely move along with the rest of the market. Maybe the worst is behind us, or maybe it's not, and that's totally okay. There's no need to stress or feel overwhelmed. And hey, if curling up in a comfy blanket and having a little moment is your thing, go for it. We all need those sometimes. Whether it's Sunday, Monday, or any other day that ends in "yeah, you've got this." You do you, girl. That's totally fine. But as for me, yeah, I'm going to pass on that if that's cool with you. Actually, even if it's not, I'm still not doing it. It just doesn't make sense to me. So let's take a step back and shake off the emotions here. Now, check this out from Crypto Insight UK. This was posted earlier in the afternoon at 1:44 p.m. At that time, the price was sitting around $1.97. Yep, about $1.97. After the post, though, it dropped down to $1.91. Here's the post. So XRP went from $1.97 to $1.91. And after that, he shared what he called the perfect XRP structure. He sketched out a rough idea, kind of a squiggly line to show what he meant. Now, I wouldn't take it as set in stone. Sometimes analysts just want to give a general sense of what could happen. It's not necessarily a guaranteed timeline or exact levels, but from the looks of it, he was pointing to $1.90 before a big move upward. So he drew that, and it's crazy because it looks like it actually happened by the end of the month, right after he posted it. I'm not sure if that counts for him, but I just had to point it out because it's fascinating how quickly it played out. It already happened. Yep, it did. We've started moving up now, and he mentioned something around $2.60. But honestly, we could still see downside movement too. Here's the thing, let's be real. Nobody truly knows for sure. The most honest people will tell you straight up, I don't know. They might share their preferences, what they believe is more likely in their reasoning, but at the end of the day, no one has a crystal ball. And that's the truth. Here's an update from chart analyst Casey Trades on XRP. It's playing out exactly as expected based on previous updates. Casey had been watching for a price drop close to a major Fibonacci level, followed by a small bounce to fake strength, and then a final touch to FIBE support, ideally forming a bullish divergence. And guess what? That's exactly what's happening around the $1.90 level. As of this afternoon, around 2:38 p.m., XRP was sitting at about $1.96 after recovering slightly from the morning low of $1.93. It did drop back down to around $1.91 shortly after, but this movement aligns perfectly with the setup Casey's been tracking. Just wanted to share the full context here for anyone following along. So here's the deal. She's saying $1.90 is a major support level. Why? It's the macro 0.5 retracement from the entire correction. If the price hits this level cleanly with some divergence, it could set up a textbook bottom. Sounds interesting, right? Now, if you've been following my videos lately, you've probably heard me talk about price action over the past week. Have you noticed how some analysts are actually excited about the possibility of XRP dropping to around $1.90? They're not worried. They actually want it to happen. Why? Because structurally it's super bullish. That's the kind of setup they're hoping for. Of course, not everyone sees it that way. A lot of retail investors might panic, which is totally normal. Most people feel uneasy when prices drop, but for those who've been charting for years and know these markets inside and out, they're like, this is awesome. They understand what tends to follow a move like this, and they're not shaken by it. It's all about perspective. Seasoned traders view these moments differently, and there's a lot to learn from that mindset. And here's the part that really boosts my confidence. Bitcoin has been showing a similar pattern over the past week. I've been keeping an eye on it as it approaches a key 0.236 retracement level near $97,000 since. It got super close, bounced back, and now seems primed for one last dip to support. If Bitcoin hits that level while XRP reaches $1.90, that's some serious alignment. That's also when the algorithms lock onto exactly what they've been waiting for. You know, that's exactly what I keep hearing from analysts. It's not a guarantee, though. Even the ones saying, hey, this could happen, aren't claiming it's a sure thing. Most of them are more like, well, it might happen. That's probably the more realistic scenario, but take it with a grain of salt. Anyway, here's the deal. Both assets are showing similar patterns, almost like a hit, a bounce, and then a final drop. And guess what? That's no coincidence. Markets tend to behave like this when they're gearing up for a reversal. If XRP holds at $1.90 and Bitcoin hits $97,000, 0 cents, then boom. That's the kind of stacked signal we've been waiting for in this drop. It's not a failure. It's just the final shakeout before the big move. I really hope that's the case, because if it is, we're in for something exciting. There's definitely going to be a lot to talk about in the days ahead. And honestly, I'm just as curious and intrigued as you all to see how things unfold. That said, I'll speak for myself here. I'm feeling super optimistic and fully in bull mode. Sure, there might be some pullbacks along the way, and that's totally fine. But for so many reasons I've shared before, I just don't believe this bull market is over. I really don't think it's likely. Of course, there's always something to worry about. This year, it's tariffs, for example. All right, here's the deal. Things are looking good, but it'll take some time. Personally, I think the crypto market will keep following global M2 trends. And as for XRP, I believe it's set to soar to new all-time highs. Honestly, I wouldn't be shocked to see double-digit price action during enterprise discovery. But hey, we'll see what happens. I truly believe the best is yet to come. That's where I'm at with it. And look, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. It happens. But I've laid out why I think my bullish outlook makes more sense than a bearish one. Oh, and just to be clear, I'm not a financial advisor. Seriously, don't make any buying or selling decisions just because of something I said here. That would definitely not be a great idea.